Right now, without you asking, 12 pairs of nerves are firing inside your head, running out to your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your gut. Cut them, and you go blind. You go deaf. You stop living. And those 12 disciples you have heard about your whole life, they were never 12 men. They are these 12 nerves living inside your own head, and I am not the first to notice. In 1880, one of the greatest anatomists who ever lived, Joseph Hirtel, looked at these 12 nerves coming out of the brain, and out of every word he could have chosen, he called them the 12 brain apostles. A scientist describing plain anatomy, reaching for the exact word the Bible uses for the 12 disciples. That is not folklore. The term is still cited in the anatomy literature today, in a journal called Annals of Anatomy. This did not start in a church. It started on a dissection table. But a matching word is not proof, and I will not ask you to take it on faith. So here is my promise. By the end, 3 of these disciples will give themselves away. Their own names will point straight at the nerves in your skull, and you will be able to check every one. And one question will be left standing. If 12 messengers surround a center, who is sitting at the middle of that table? Hold on to that. Let us start where Hirtel started, with the messengers. And here's the strange part you will feel in a minute. Half of these men never say a single word in the entire Bible. We will get to that. First, stay with the body a minute, because the body is where this begins. Those 12 pairs of nerves are called the cranial nerves. Cranial just means they come straight out of your skull instead of up your spine. And each one has a job. One carries sight, one hearing, one taste. One moves your face when you smile. One runs your voice. One reaches all the way down to help run your heart and stomach. 12 lines, each carrying a message from headquarters out to the body. Now here is where the word itself gets interesting. The word apostle is a Greek word, apostolos. Break it open, and it means one who is sent forth from a center to carry a message. Now think about what a nerve is. A nerve is a messenger sent out from the brain to carry a signal to the body. That is not a metaphor. It is the literal job of a nerve. The word apostle is the job description of a cranial nerve. So when a great anatomist called 12 messengers leaving the brain apostles, he was not being poetic. He was being precise. 12 messengers sent forth from one center. Hold on to that picture, because now we walk over to the Bible and watch what happens to the 12 disciples up close. Because up close, they stop behaving like 12 men. Here is what I promised you a minute ago. 6 of the 12. Their names appear on a list, and then they vanish. Not one sentence, not one question. James, the son of Alphaeus. Nothing. Simon, the one they called the Zealot. Nothing. Bartholomew. Nothing. Matthew gets called from his tax booth, and after that, silence. These are supposed to be the most important men in the history of Christianity, the foundation of the whole church, and half of them are just names on a page. If 12 real men spent 3 years walking and eating beside Jesus, you would expect stories, arguments, personalities. Instead, for 6 of them, you get a name, and then nothing. Now, one silent man you could explain away. Maybe he was shy. But 6 out of 12, all silent, all just names? That is not how anyone writes about real people they lived beside for years. That is how you write a list, where the important thing is not who is on it, but how many. The Bible gives you the 12 disciples in 4 different places, and the 4 lists do not hand you the same 12 names. Matthew and Mark list a man named Thaddeus. Luke and the book of Acts drop him and put someone else in his place, a man they call Judas, the son of James. Same seat, different man. Nobody can explain that cleanly if these were 12 real people who lived together for 3 years. You do not forget a close friend's name and quietly swap in a stranger. And it is not only the names, it is the stories of how they were called. 4 Gospels describe how Jesus recruited these men, and they cannot agree on where it happened. Matthew and Mark say Jesus walked the shore and called fishermen off their boats. Luke says there was a boat and a miraculous catch of fish first. John puts it somewhere else entirely, far from the water, with the news passed along by John the Baptist. 4 writers describe the single most important recruitment in their whole story, and you get 4 different versions. If 4 witnesses at a trial gave accounts this different, the case would get thrown out. So either these writers were bad at their jobs, or the identities of these men were never the point. And once you start counting, the one thing that never changes is the number itself. Watch what the number does, because it behaves like a machine, not a friendship. When Judas dies, the remaining disciples call an emergency meeting. The number 12 has to be restored right away. They pick a replacement, a man named Matthias, chosen by drawing lots. The 12 must be complete. But then, a few chapters later, another disciple, James the son of Zebedee, is executed, and nobody replaces him. Nobody even brings it up. Think about that. When one disciple died, the number 12 mattered so much they held a ceremony to restore it. When the next one died, they let it drop and said nothing. That only makes sense if the 12 was never about the men. It was about a function. When the function needed all 12, they filled the seat. When it did not, they left it dark. If this is quietly rearranging things you were sure you understood, that is exactly what this channel is for. So if you want more of it, subscribe and stay a while. And here is the part that seals it. Paul, writing after Judas is already dead and the seat still empty, says that Jesus appeared to the 12. The 12. The head count was wrong, and Paul says 12 anyway, because 12 had stopped being a head count. It had become a title. And once you see that, you start noticing 12 everywhere. 12 tribes, 12 gates of the holy city, 12 foundations, 12 stars on the crown, 12 loaves on the temple table. At some point, a number that shows up this many times stops being coincidence and starts being a code. So here is the question this whole video has been walking toward. If the 12 disciples were never 12 men, then what were they? What comes in a group of exactly 12 arranges itself around a single center and was important enough that a famous scientist reached for the word apostolos. You already know. Your 12 cranial nerves. They come out of the brainstem in matched pairs and surrounded on every side. Scripture shows 12 figures gathered around one central figure. Anatomy shows 12 nerves gathered around one central stem. The same picture, drawn twice. Bill Donahue taught this exact pattern for years, and the moment you see it, the table and the brain lock into one image. But a careful person is not satisfied yet. A matching picture is not proof. 12 is a common number, and you could wave all of this away as coincidence. That is the right instinct. So, I am not going to lean on the picture. I am going to hand you the names. Because if these 12 disciples really are the 12 nerves in your head, then some of the names should point straight at the body. So, let us test it. First, let me be straight with you, because most channels will not be. If someone tells you all 12 disciple names secretly spell out body parts, they are stretching it. The names do not all match. But 3 of them match so cleanly, the coincidence explanation starts to come apart in your hands. Watch. Start with Thomas. You do not have to guess what his name means, because the Bible tells you itself. It calls him Thomas, also called Didymus. Both words, the Aramaic and the Greek, mean the same single thing: twin. Now, here is the anatomy. Every one of your cranial nerves comes as a pair, a left and a right. 12 names on the list, 12 matched pairs in your skull, 24 separate nerves. And when Revelation describes the throne at the center of everything, it seats 24 elders around it, 12, doubled. The twin was hiding in the count the whole time. Next, take Simon. Simon comes from an old Hebrew name that means he has heard. Simon is the one who hears. And one of your 12 cranial nerves, the 8th, has one main job: hearing. It is the reason sound means anything to you at all. The disciple whose name means he hears, sitting on the list beside the nerve of hearing. And then there is Judas. Now, I am not going to tell you the name Judas means wandering, because it does not. That is not the match, and I will not pretend it is. The match is what he did. Judas is the one who wandered away from the group, who left the fold and went off on his own. Now look at the 10th cranial nerve. Its name is the vagus nerve, and vagus is a Latin word that means exactly wandering. It is the same root that gives us vagrant and vagabond. It is the one nerve that refuses to stay up in the head. It wanders all the way down through the body, to the heart and the gut. The wanderer among the 12 men, and the wandering nerve among the 12 nerves. 3 names, 3 matches. Nobody spelled them out for you, but there they sit, if you are willing to look. Now let me take this out of the Bible completely, because if 12 is really a code for the body, then other people in other lands who never read the Bible should have stumbled onto the same code. And they did. Look at the zodiac, 12 signs. The old astrologers mapped those 12 onto 12 regions of the body, head to feet. Aries at the head, Pisces at the feet. A full map of the body in 12 parts, running back to ancient Babylon, documented by scholars. Go to China. Traditional Chinese medicine is built on 12 main channels of energy, each running down both sides of the body, each tied to an organ. Go to Egypt. Their sacred writings describe the sun traveling through 12 hours of the night, dying and reborn across 12 stages. Go to Greece. 12 gods on the mountain. And here's the beautiful part. The Greek list of 12 changes depending on who is telling it. Different names come and go, but the number always holds at 12. Exactly like the disciples. Nobody copied anybody. The Egyptians did not copy the Greeks. The Bible did not copy China. They all landed on the same number because it does not belong to any one religion. It comes from the sky. There are about 12 full moons in a year, 12 months, 12 markers along the path the sun walks. The number 12 was written into the heavens long before any holy book, and every tradition on earth read it there and pointed it back at the human body. I want to come back to that wandering nerve, the vagus, because it is the key to what you are going to do at the end of this. The vagus is the longest of your 12 cranial nerves. It starts at the base of your brain and wanders down through your neck, into your chest, and through your whole gut. It touches your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your intestines. One nerve reaching almost everywhere. Here is something almost nobody knows. Researchers found that around 80% of this nerve's fibers run upward, from the body to the brain, not downward. Read that again. The vagus is mostly listening. Your gut talks to your brain more than your brain talks to your gut. This messenger spends most of its time carrying reports back to headquarters. The apostle is also the disciple. And this is where it stops being ancient history and turns into something you can use tonight. Scientists have shown that when you slow your breathing to about 6 breaths a minute, you gently press on tiny sensors in your arteries, and those sensors switch on the vagus nerve. Your heart rate slows. Your blood pressure drops. Your body shifts out of fight or flight and into rest and repair. One researcher's model maps how 5 of your cranial nerves work together as one calming system, linking your face to your heart. So when you relax your face, or hum, or breathe slow, you are touching these nerves directly. You are calling them into order. Now watch what Jesus actually told people to do, because it lines up with the anatomy exactly. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 6, Jesus says that when you pray, go into your closet, and when you have shut the door, pray to your Father in secret. For 2,000 years, people heard that and thought it meant find a quiet room. Bill Donahue spent years showing that the closet Jesus meant was never a room, but read it as a map of the inside of your head. Shut the door, close your eyes, cut off the light, and go inward into the secret room in the center of your skull. A few verses later, in the same chapter, Jesus says that if your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. And here is the science underneath it. Your eyes feed the optic nerve, one of your 12. When you close them and sit in the dark, the signal pouring into that nerve drops away, and when that light input falls, your brain slips into a slower, calmer rhythm, something the man who invented the brainwave machine wrote down almost 100 years ago. The chemistry that prepares your body for deep rest begins to rise in the dark. Close the eyes, quiet the light, and your whole body starts to change. And every tradition on earth says the same thing. The Buddhist closes his eyes and stills the mind. The old Hindu practice says withdraw your senses and fix your attention between the eyebrows. Always the same, go within. The door was never a wooden door. The door was your own eyes. And the church, for the most part, taught you to look up and out when the whole map was pointing in. So here is what you actually do tonight. You do not need a church, a teacher, or a single thing to buy. You need a dark room and 10 minutes. Sit down. Close the door. Now close your eyes. The moment you do that, you have quieted the optic nerve, one of your 12. Next, slow your breathing. Breathe in for a count of 5 and out for a count of 5. As you do that, you are switching on the vagus nerve, the wanderer, number 10. Your heart slows. Your body settles. Now relax your face. Let go of your jaw, your forehead, the muscles around your eyes. When you do that, you are quieting the nerves that run your face, numbers 5 and 7. Sit there, breathing slow, face soft, in the dark, for 10 minutes. And understand what you are really doing. You are not just relaxing. You are gathering your 12 messengers and drawing them into alignment. You are doing the exact thing every tradition has been pointing at. The thing the whole Bible was quietly describing all along. You are entering the temple that was never made of stone. So here's the last piece. The part the packaging never told you. The 12 disciples were never 12 men. You already knew that walking in, but they were also never just 12 nerves. 12 messengers only mean something when there is someone in the middle for them to serve. There is a center to that circle. a throne at the middle of the table, and the one who sits on it, the one all 12 surround, the one they carry every message home to, is you. And if you are the one on the throne, then the throne itself is the next thing worth seeing. That same Bible tells you a king built a temple with 6 steps leading up and 12 lions guarding the seat at the top. That temple was never in Jerusalem. It was built inside your own skull, chamber by chamber, and I walked through exactly where every part of it sits. It is on the screen right now. Go find out what your 12 are really standing guard around.